Once everyone's all woke, it'll be great.
Woke's a dangerous word to use. I feel like people are going to mock it in the future.
Woke?
Woke.
Yeah.
I feel like using woke now, like unironically, is super slippery. I see a trap coming.
You do?
The jiu-jitsu practitioner in me is like, I don't like this move. This is, I know where this leads.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, must stay home.
And you do when you want it. Dance for girls and men, women. Dance for girls and men, women.
Don't cut his dick off, bro.
On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care.
It's time to set the record straight on what gender-affirming care is and what gender-affirming care is not.
You're going too far, dog.
Gender-affirming care is age-appropriate care that is medically necessary for the well-being of many transgender and non-binary people.
That is a male, a 12-year-old. At 12, they don't even know what their next meal gonna be. They don't have shit figured out yet. He might meet a woman, anything, at 16 and fall in love with her, but his dick be gone.
Gender-affirming care is a euphemism for all sorts of policies that with young children can involve puberty-blocking drugs, that can involve, at extreme levels, surgeries that permanently alter their reproductive capacity, their capacity for the rest of their life.
Them kids are not transsexuals. Dwayne Wade boy is dealing with two demented adults.
No one is even allowed to ask, what are the consequences of an 8-year-old child being given severe drugs that alter their physiology for the rest of their life?
Must stay home.
Woke was a term that first started in Black American society. After slavery and colonization robbed the Black American of their history and patrilineage, many Black Americans sought to recover the knowledge of what was lost. And after recovering the knowledge, there were those in Black society that compared their former state of ignorance to having been asleep, and their current state of historical, spiritual, and political awareness to having been awakened, or woke. An artistic conception of what woke entails could be found in the blockbuster movie The Matrix, where the main protagonist, Neo, is given a choice between a blue pill and a red pill. Should Neo choose to ingest the blue pill, he would remain in his current state of oblivion to reality, whereas if he were to ingest the red pill, the veil would be removed from his eyes, causing him to see reality for what it was. This is what it meant to be woke. And after the making of the movie The Matrix, some referred to it as being red-pilled. Same thing, different messengers. But things don't always stay the same. What was once celebrated as enlightenment in Black society was co-opted and morphed into an unrecognizable caricature of its original intent. Being woke suddenly became the label for every progressive ideology.
Nobody needs you to advocate for how difficult it is to use gender-neutral pronouns. Nobody said that the gender binary was f***ing easy. These are not my preferred pronouns. These are my pronouns. You will use them, or you will not refer to me.
Must stay home.
Okay, so the rule is you can't offend anyone, all right? Let's say you're speaking to one person. I can't offend you. All right, fair enough. What if I'm speaking to 10 people? Do I get to offend 1 in 10? How about 1 in 100? How about 1 in 1,000? You're going to come out on stage and you're going to say something important about something vital, and you're not going to offend 1 person in 1,000?
Must stay home.
Male gametes. That's what makes me male.
No, your sperm don't make you male.
Then what does?
These nuts.
It's a constellation.
In reality.
Must stay.
Nope.
You still think that boys should follow my daughter in a bathroom. Does anybody up there have a daughter?
Must stay home.
Next, we got them, right? Okay, so then we got, that's just combining them and him. Them. You know? I went to a movie with him the other night. last one, theirs. Okay? It's just like theirs, but like also like hers. Theirs. That jacket's theirs. Yes, this just sounds like they, them pronouns, but with the new ultra-scientific method, we have them so they've combined he and she as well. Everybody gets you with he, them, theirs today.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
This is what woke has become. And unfortunately, anything done or said by those who have a habit of co-opting a trendy phrase such as woke has a tendency of falling back onto the originators of the phrase. So what was once a term that was specific to black society suddenly became adopted by progressives looking to gain traction for whatever it was they were pushing. Which may be the reason that many in black society stopped using the now taboo phrase woke and started using conscious instead, which gave us the conscious community, which has cultural teachings in diametric opposition to the now multicultural woke movement.
For usually we're on the receiving end of the bigoted and racist comments, black folks, right? So when he's doing, I'm like, well, dang, I guess we have overcome, you know? maybe gay is the new black.
Gay is the new black?
Gay is the new black.
So how do these foreign agendas have a reoccurring trend of infiltrating the membrane of so-called black movements? How is it that whenever progressive ideologies begin to gain traction in the media, many of them are oddly associated with the momentum and coverage achieved by issues raised within the black community? Gay is the new black, or so-and-so is the new slavery. How is it that someone finds the need to align these issues with the legacy of the black experience in some way or another? If you've ever played a game called 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon, you know exactly where I'm going with this. 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon is the theory that every person in the world can somehow be tied back to the actor Kevin Bacon. Name a name and somebody that knows someone dated a lady who's had lunch with Kevin Bacon, as it is in the case of these various woke narratives gaining traction amid the protests that are disproportionately black. Are black protests the Kevin Bacon of wokeism? An awareness to the injustices surrounding racism have been a part of what it meant to be woke since the inception of the concept of woke. And because the dominant purveyors of racism in the West were white citizens, post-civil rights movement, many white citizens became extra vigilant so as not to be considered as a racist in public. So much so that they would often hold their tongues out of the fear of having their words misconstrued, which birthed the sort of resentment in the white citizenry that viewed this phenomenon turned social expectation as the intrusion on their First Amendment right to free speech, which included the right to criticize. To be a white man had now been successfully aligned with the context of oppressor. Not white people, but white men. And not just any white men, straight white men. But why not the women? Surely there were white women who were slave masters. Surely the blood trails that led to the doorsteps of every bloodthirsty Karen was evident. Surely the destruction and elimination of every black so-called messiah during the reign of J. Edgar Hoover was still smoldering in the history books, and he was LGBT. So how was the face of oppression suddenly reduced to 3 criteria? That which was straight, that which was white, and that which was a man. If I were a betting man, I would wager that it was not accidental.
The white woman's liberation movement, we don't have anything to do with that. We have not been under the control of the black man for over 500 years, so what do we have to get liberated from them from? We don't have any business being in that. They only introduced it to break down the civil rights movement. Civil rights movement started with the black man, the black woman, and the black child standing together, trying to plead for freedom, justice, and equality, and more benefits in the country that they had built. They threw the white woman in there with the women's liberation movement and made it a woman against man thing.
If national attention is heavily allocated to the plight and protest of black America, what strategy could these majority non-black social justice groups deploy in order to shift the government's focus to their plight? That's easy. Just put a black face on the front line in order to borrow the momentum that black society had amassed from the entire world. But you still need a bad guy. So placate to the black society. Tell them that yes, white people are the bad guy, but not all of them. In order to meet the criteria for an oppressor, you must first be straight, you must then be white, and finally, you must be male. But let's use some logic. If being white and male eliminates you as a possible oppressor if you are LGBT, then that cancels out race as a determining variable, which logically would make the remaining variables the only ones to meet the criteria for oppressor, which is straight and male. Surprise, surprise. That also includes black men. These same black men have been targeted and labeled by woke editorials that have labeled straight black men as the white men of black society. White in this instance is being used as a pejorative to mean oppressor. And the only determining factor which makes these black men oppressors is their heterosexuality. So what is the agenda behind wokeism? What is the agenda behind the cancellation of narratives that challenge and warn against the untested methods and uncharted waters of wokeism ideology? By the 1960s, the Democratic Party had already secured the majority black vote. It was during the 1960s that the benign neglect policy was structured, which basically said that if government made promises to black voters and never delivered on those promises, the black voters have a tendency to riot, which then becomes a major financial issue for business owners. And it's also not a good look as far as the perception of law and order in America on the world stage. So Daniel Patrick Moynihan created the concept of benign neglect, which essentially advises government officials to listen to black issues, sing Amazing Grace, play the saxophone, do a little dance, but never make any promises to the black community, lest they turn up.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit black people. No.
So is it a coincidence that this phenomenon of wokeism is heavily rooted on the political left? There are some that speculate that the benign neglect policy is at the root of the rise of wokeism. What better way to avoid tackling specific issues that are specific to black communities than to convince your black voter base that all oppression is equal, that we are all in this together? That way you can take any immigrant, any woman, any LGBTQ, and any black person and bind them under the banner of oppression, so the next time that black society as an individual voting bloc asks the Democratic Party why they deserve the black vote, and what can they point to that justifies the 60-year loyalty of the black vote to the Democratic Party, they can point to things done specifically for Asians, things done specifically for women, and things done specifically for LGBTQ, but all else is done in the name of America. It's no secret to the Democrats that their black voter base is now upset from what many describe as a lack of tangibles. So what do you do as a Democrat that has already vowed never to do anything specifically for the ethnic black voter? Replace them and savor a few by getting them to identify with another group. Be sure to subscribe for part 2 and more content.